In 1954, Marlboro cigarettes had red-tipped filters designed to hide lipstick stains because Marlboro was a woman's cigarette with a tagline that read "Mild as me." 2 years later, it had become one of the most masculine brands in America, built entirely around cowboys and the open range. And how it did that remains one of the most extraordinary repositioning stories in marketing history. The product didn't change, not the tobacco, not the filter, not the packaging, but what changed was what the product meant. Originally, Marlboro cigarettes were targeted towards women, and it was even marketed as a lady's favorite. But shortly before World War II, sales stagnated at less than 1% of the US tobacco sales, and the company even had to briefly withdraw it from the market. Finally, Philip Morris hired an advertising agency called Leo Burnett to save the brand. They wanted to reposition the cigarettes to men, but the issue was that filtered cigarettes were seen as feminine and they needed to make them acceptable to men without changing the actual product. The Leo Burnett agency's solution wasn't to defend the filter or explain why it was actually masculine. They did something smarter or more devious depending on how you want to look at it. They understood that they weren't repositioning a product feature, they were repositioning an identity. And the way you do that isn't by arguing against the negative perception, it's by overwhelming it with something stronger. So they made masculinity so central to the brand that the filter became completely irrelevant. The cowboy representing freedom, independence, and self-reliance became the entire story. And the cigarette became a prop in that story, a way for men to signal to themselves and to the world that they belonged to that identity. This is something known as identity signaling in behavioral science. The idea that we don't just buy products for what they do, we buy them for what they say about who we are. Marlboro wasn't selling a better cigarette, they were selling membership in an archetype. Within a year, Marlboro went from less than 1% market share to the fourth best-selling cigarette in America. In 1999, Advertising Age named Marlboro Man the #1 advertising campaign of the 20th century, ahead of Apple, ahead of Coca-Cola, ahead of Nike, and it happened without changing a single thing about the product itself.